Hi everybody, Andrew Cherin, attorney at law here. I'm a Seattle personal injury lawyer, and I represent people who are injured in car accidents. And today I want to talk to you about semi-truck accidents. So if you're injured in an accident with a semi-truck driver, or as a passenger in a semi-truck, or let's say even if you're injured on like a tour bus, a large like Greyhound, certain rules apply to these bus drivers and or semi-truck drivers, and they have to do certain things to make sure they're not driving drowsy. Driving drowsy is one of the leading causes of death for car accidents, especially involved with semi-truck drivers, and it's a huge issue with semi-truck drivers over the years. Has been drivers driving on too little of sleep and not getting enough rest in between driving, and driving for too long periods of time, because if you fall asleep at the wheel on a semi-truck, you're putting a lot of people in danger by being hit by this huge massive truck that most likely is going to lead to catastrophic injuries and death if you're hit by one of these. So the federal government has put into place a series of laws that require these type of drivers, semi-truck drivers and tour bus drivers, to follow certain guidelines and have a sleep log that they have to record when they're taking breaks, how long their break is, when they're starting again, how many days they've taken off, and really document these things. If they can't provide these, it's almost like a default judgment against them because they're not following federal guidelines, and strict liability could apply in those situations. Not necessarily that it does, but it could lead to an award for someone who's injured by one of these drivers almost immediately, because they're supposed to do these certain things, and which could expose the company to more liability as well outside of that for not following proper guidelines that maybe they have. Could lead to other lawsuits as well. But in general, federal guidelines require a certain number of breaks each day. Maybe not a certain number of breaks, but a certain hour of rest and non-driving time each day for semi-truck drivers and tour bus drivers. So passengers carrying more than 16 people are required to follow, without compensation, are required to follow certain guidelines, and transport buses carrying 9 or more people for compensation are required to follow these guidelines. And the guidelines are that they have a 10-hour driving limit for passengers carrying drivers. They may drive 10 hours after 8 consecutive hours off duty. So basically they're only really allowed to drive for a certain amount of hours each day. Some drivers have a 15-hour limit per day, some have 11, some have 14. For semi-truck drivers, generally it's an 11-hour driving limit. They tried to shorten that to 10 hours, but federal guidelines found that there was not a significant impact between 10 and 11 hours of maximum driving per day. So they can only drive 11 hours a day. Passenger driving cars can drive 10 hours a day after 8 consecutive hours off duty. And 15-hour limit may not drive after having been on duty for 15 hours following 8 consecutive hours off duty. Off-duty time is not included in the 15-hour period. This is from the federal guidelines that they have. And a 14-hour limit for property carrying drivers may not drive beyond the 14th consecutive hour after coming on duty following 10 consecutive hours off duty. Off-duty time does not extend the 14-hour period. So it's a little confusing what this actually means. Is the limit actually 11 hours, or is it 14 hours for property carrying drivers, semi-truck drivers? And for passenger carrying drivers like tour bus or buses that carry people around, it's a 10-hour driving limit with a 15-hour limit. And a lot of times these companies, these big companies that are subject to these guidelines of driving cargo interstate, and they have a lot of insurance response teams and first responders that will arrive on scene before even the police or ambulance arrive on the scene. And they will be there documenting the scene and trying to take witness statements, trying to flip liability as much as they can possibly do. And they'll be coaching up their own clients, which may seem like a violation of the law by doing this. In some instances it could be and can be, but they still do these tactics, and it's very dangerous. and you have a really uphill climb dealing with these type of accidents. So if you've been in a bus or semi accident, give me a call. I give free consultations. My number is 206-850-6716, and for more information you can find me online at www.lawsharing.com.